amendment of the UPDF Act. This was a recommendation by the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court found the UPDF Act wanting, particularly the provisions which create the court-martial were not in tandem with the Constitution. And therefore, among other recommendations which were made by the Supreme Court was that Parliament and Executive should amend the UPDF Act to align it with the Constitution. And if you read the judgment, including the one of the Chief Justice, he said that court-martials or military courts can try civilians under particular circumstances, but those circumstances must be defined in the law. It is not true that the Supreme Court said a court-martial can't try a civilian. They only said the way the current law is written, it does not guarantee fairness and justice. But if government wishes, it can amend the law and provide for circumstances when and where civilians can be tried in a court-martial. Therefore, the NRM government and the NRM caucus are not trying to subvert the decision taken by the Supreme Court, as some people are saying, but rather we are complying with the recommendation of the court-martial. And yes, we sat as NRM caucus, considered the suggestions which have been drafted by the Attorney General, and we made comments, and the bill is being approved. It will be coming to Parliament for consideration and enactment. And therefore, there is nothing wrong with the government and Parliament amending the UPDF Act as recommended by the Supreme Court to align it with the national constitution. People are free to have opinions and to bring suggestions, and those can be debated. It is healthy to raise those suggestions, and then they can be processed through the structures of NRM. For instance, if it is a strong proposal from some NRM members, then it can be tabled and we discuss it and look at it. Does it mean somebody who is, say, LC5 chairperson, when he doubles as the chairperson of the party, does he fail to do his work? Or if somebody is a minister and is also a leader in the party, does it mean he fails to do his work? Has the president failed to do his work as a president at the same time as chairman of NRM? Well, that's an argument that we can entertain within the structure of the party, and then we can discuss it. So I have no problem with the right to raise such an issue, and then it is discussed and can be democratically settled within the party structures.
Does this disadvantage you as a person seeking re-election in the Senate?
No. We are not in these positions for personal benefits or as a job. We are in for a service. If, for instance, the party took that decision that people should relinquish one position, we would go with the decision. It's not a do or die. We seek these positions to serve the population. But if the party thinks we can realign this way, there would be no cause for alarm. It's not something which would make one get sleepless nights, for instance.
Okay, in 2014 there was...
But I can say there is no harm, if you want my position on it, there is no harm in one holding two positions or three positions, being a minister and also being a leader in the party. There is no harm, and it happens all over the world. The problem, some people look at these assignments as jobs. For them, they think if you are a minister and you are an MP and you are a leader in NRM, maybe you are getting 3 jobs. No. For instance, I am an MP, I am a minister, I am a vice chairman in NRM, but I get only one salary as an MP. I am paid only one salary as an MP. I don't get a single coin from NRM as a vice chairperson. It's just a responsibility I chose to take on so that I serve my party. So the problem, those who are pushing that line of argument, they think that there are salaries, there are allowances, there is money you get. No, it's just a service.
First and foremost, when the Supreme Court came with its ruling on the General Court Martial, there are directives that the Supreme Court made. The NRM Parliamentary Caucus under the NRM Constitution is the legislative organ of the party. In compliance with the directives that the Supreme Court made, the NRM Parliamentary Caucus met under the guidance of the constitutional principal legal advisor of government, that is the Attorney General, to take the caucus through the directives that the court made that necessitated the amendment to the UPDF Act. And what we did was just to comply with the directives that the Supreme Court gave that necessitated the amendment of the UPDF Act. One of them is, how is this court-martial constituted? The court gave a directive that it should be constituted by lawyers or enrolled advocates who are serving UPDF soldiers, not those who are not lawyers or advocates within the UPDF. The other thing was about the appointment of these people. How should they be appointed? The other one was providing for exceptional circumstances under which a civilian can be tried in the military court-martial. A civilian who owns a firearm illegally, first of all, has not complied with the legal provisions of acquiring a firearm, but proceeds to commit a crime that is like double jeopardy. First of all, you own an illegal firearm or gun. Then you proceed probably to kill a civilian. That one now will fall under the exceptional circumstance. But when you own your firearm under the laws or acquired under the laws of the Republic of Uganda, you are supposed to be tried under the penal law. The Supreme Court gave a number of directives, distinguish between service offense committed by UPDF soldier and penal offenses. So these are the areas that the NRM Parliamentary Caucus met to discuss on to ensure that we realign the UPDF Act in conformity with the directives of the Supreme Court. So there is nothing we are doing outside the confines of the decision of Supreme Court. If there are people saying there's something being done outside, then they still have a leeway of challenging it in the same court. But for us, we are complying one by one on the ruling of the Supreme Court, and for us as a legislative organ of the ruling party, we would want to lead by example, because also failure to comply with the ruling of court is even more dangerous. We would rather comply with what court directed us to do other than keeping silent. So that is the spirit in principle leading to the proposals that we discuss to amend the UPDF Act.
There are concerns that you did not consult local Ugandans before.
That is a process. You see, we seem to be engaging gear number 5 before engaging 1 and 2. Legislation is a process. What we are doing is initiating it. When eventually it is approved in cabinet, after it is drafted by the first Parliamentary Council under Attorney General's chambers, it will be formally introduced on the floor of Parliament. And the bill, entitled the UPDF Amendment Bill, once formally read for the first time, will be referred to the appropriate committee of Parliament. It is that time that the committee, under the rules of procedure of Parliament, is granted the latitude to consult with stakeholders on the proposed amendment of that particular bill. For now, really, there is nothing requiring consultation. We have not yet even moved on the floor of Parliament. We have not yet even approved it in Cabinet. So for now, after caucus, it will come to Cabinet. When Cabinet is done with the principles of the bill, it will be introduced on the floor of Parliament for first reading. Once that is done, it is referred to the committee. When it is referred to the committee consults with stakeholders. After their consultations, they now come back to the floor of Parliament with the report indicating we have been consulting on this bill, we have consulted with UPDF officers, we have consulted with UPDF veterans, we have consulted with the civilian authority, we have consulted with ministries, departments and agencies of government, and this is our report. Upon that, Parliament now proceeds to the second reading. Once that is done, then we consider the bill clause by clause. The moment that is passed, the bill now moves to the third reading. Once the third reading is done, the bill is worked on by Parliament and sent to the President for assent as required by the Constitution. So the time for consultation of stakeholders, we are not yet there. One of the directives of the courts of judicature, and to be specific, the Supreme Court, was to make provision for an appeal. Now, in the proposals that has been brought before caucus, the military court-martial will be courts that are subordinate to the civilian courts, implying whoever undergoes trial under the military court-martial will have the right of appeal to the civilian court. So this is also part of the fundamental decision that the Supreme Court came up with, that provide for the right of appeal. But before the right of appeal, create this court as a court of first instance. So that is what we have also done, to create that right of appeal for whoever will go through the trial under the general court-martial.
Odgo murimbarra ninga notekateka kwijo murimbarra abaling suits beno buraro bwamani munonga kandi benene bitanda birungi tibakako maburaro benene bala nungi bozirimecho kumye cyaburi muringo bene na hotelo halimu emere yachiraguju nangwa n'ekijungu kandi orende emere yo kutwaro waba baling suits nacho barakikora echo mujungu ari kweta ngo niteka we bene na sauna na steam ogesro na massage basa kubura bayikira kugira ngo bakoboherezobwe parking yabo ne yamani munonga kandi nimpango ebyo kwerinda byabo biri guruguru munonga kandi abaling suits barashango mu rurembo rwambara omuri Katete waruga parking ya boda boda ya St Mary's ori kwenda kubukinga urabasa kurabera namba ze smeji 079 kaga na mwenda kandi urabasa kugamba na director wa link suits ori kurabera namba ze smeji 0 kaga nemwe 595 ogesiro ne ya 0 kaga nemwe 595 twena katurukangira link suits kugira ngo tutungo buhereza burungi.